Imagine standing before a mountain of solid granite. It's one of the hardest stones on Earth. Now, imagine trying to carve a perfectly smooth, geometrically precise chamber deep inside it. Not with lasers or diamond-tipped drills, but with the tools of an ancient empire over 2,000 years ago. This is the mystery of the Barabar Caves in Bihar, India. When you step inside, the first thing that hits you isn't the darkness, it's the silence, which is quickly followed by the sheer perfection of the walls. They feel like glass, polished to a mirror-like finish that reflects your image with eerie clarity. There are no chisel marks, no signs of struggle, just a flawless, dark surface that seems to absorb the light and your very thoughts. This isn't just one cave, it's a complex of several, each a masterpiece of ancient engineering. The most famous are the Lomas Rishi, Sudama, Karan Chaupar, and Visvakarma caves. Each one is a testament to an almost unbelievable level of skill. The entrances are carved with such precision that they look like they were sliced by a machine. The interior archways and vaulted ceilings are perfectly symmetrical, defying the primitive tools we believe were available during the Mauryan Empire. It feels less like a place that was carved and more like a place that was molded, as if the granite itself was softened and shaped by some long-lost technology. It's a place that asks more questions than it answers, pulling you into a deep and ancient enigma. As you run your hand along the cool, impossibly smooth surface, you can't help but wonder, how? How did they achieve this? Modern engineers armed with advanced equipment admit that replicating this level of polish on such a vast scale would be a monumental, if not impossible, task. The granite here is stubborn, unforgiving. To work it with such finesse suggests a knowledge that has been completely erased from our history books. It's a feeling I know well from my travels, the humbling realization that our ancestors might have known things that we have forgotten. These caves are not just historical artifacts, they are a direct challenge to our modern assumptions about the past. The air inside is still and heavy, thick with the weight of centuries. It's easy to feel small here, a fleeting visitor in a chamber built for eternity. The architects intended for these structures to last, and they have. They have weathered empires, monsoons, and the relentless march of time, all while guarding their secrets. What was their purpose? Who were the artisans who possessed such otherworldly skills? And what happened to their knowledge? Standing here on this remote hillside in India, you are at the epicenter of one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. The journey to understand the Barabar Caves is a journey into the very limits of what we think we know about ancient civilizations. To begin unraveling this mystery, we have to travel back in time to the 3rd century BCE. This was the era of the mighty Mauryan Empire, one of the largest and most powerful empires of the ancient world. At its helm was Emperor Ashoka, a figure who looms large in Indian history. Initially a ruthless conqueror, Ashoka famously converted to Buddhism after witnessing the horrific bloodshed of the Kalinga War. He transformed into a patron of peace, spreading his philosophy of dharma or righteous conduct across his vast domain. He built stupas, erected pillars, and, according to the inscriptions found here, sponsored the creation of these incredible caves. This is the official story, the one written in stone. The caves are located on the twin hills of Barabar and Nagarjuni, rising out of the flat, dusty plains of Bihar. This region was once the heart of the Mauryan Empire, known as Magadha. The inscriptions, written in the ancient Brahmi script, tell us that Ashoka and his successor, Dasharatha Maurya, dedicated these caves to the Ajivikas. The Ajivikas were a fascinating ascetic sect who were rivals to both the Buddhists and the Jains. They were fatalists, believing that every soul was destined to cycle through millions of rebirths over thousands of years with no way to alter its path. They were known for their extreme practices of self-denial, often living naked and enduring incredible hardships in pursuit of spiritual liberation. So the story goes that Ashoka, in a gesture of religious tolerance, commissioned these magnificent granite sanctuaries for the Ajivika monks. They were meant to be shelters, places where these ascetics could meditate and ride out the heavy monsoon rains in solitude and peace. On the surface, it's a compelling narrative, an enlightened emperor providing for a fringe religious group. But it's a narrative that starts to fray at the edges when you look closer at the caves themselves. Could the tools and techniques of the Mauryan Empire, which were primarily bronze and iron, really have achieved this level of architectural perfection on one of the hardest materials on the planet? The historical context gives us the who and the when, but it doesn't give us the how. It feels like there's a missing piece of the puzzle. While Ashoka was a legendary builder, his other known projects like the famous Ashokan pillars don't quite match the sheer technical mystery we see here. The pillars are polished, yes, but carving entire multi-room complexes out of a single granite monolith is a challenge of a completely different magnitude. It's this glaring disconnect between the accepted history and the physical evidence on the ground that transforms the Barabar Caves from a historical site into a profound and enduring enigma that continues to baffle experts today. Let's talk about that polish. It's so famous it has its own name, Mauryan polish. But giving it a name doesn't explain it. The interior surfaces of the Lomas Rishi and Sudama caves in particular are so glossy they create a near-perfect reflection. It's a finish you'd expect to see on a small modern granite countertop, not on the walls and ceiling of a 2,200-year-old cave. The effect is mesmerizing and deeply unsettling. How was this achieved? Traditional theories suggest a painstaking process of rubbing the walls with sand, grit, and polishing stones for months, or even years. But this explanation feels inadequate when you're faced with the sheer scale and uniformity of the finish. The problem lies with the stone itself. Granite is an igneous rock with a rating of 6 to 7 on the Mohs scale of hardness. To put that in perspective, iron tools of the Mauryan era would have been around a 4 or 5. It would be like trying to carve a diamond with a piece of chalk. Even if they had harder abrasives, the amount of manual labor required to polish thousands of square feet of granite to this luster would have been astronomical. Furthermore, the finish is not just on the flat surfaces. It extends into the complex curves of the vaulted ceilings and the sharp corners of the doorways, places where manual polishing would be incredibly difficult to apply evenly. Even more baffling is the fact that there are no discernible tool marks left on the surfaces. None. When you carve or grind stone, you inevitably leave behind microscopic scratches and striations. Here, there is nothing. It's as if the final layer of granite was simply melted away, leaving a vitrified, glass-like skin. Some researchers have speculated about the use of chemical acids or some form of thermal treatment. Could the ancient builders have discovered a technique to heat the surface to a high temperature and then rapidly cool it, causing it to vitrify? It's a wild theory, but no wilder than the idea of achieving this with simple hand tools. This mysterious polish is not just a decorative feature, it is central to the entire enigma of the caves. It suggests a level of material science that we just don't associate with the ancient world. It's a technology that appears fully formed in the Mauryan period and then seems to vanish without a trace. There are no earlier examples of this technique, and no later ones that match its perfection. It's a technological dead end, a flash of brilliance that defies our linear understanding of history. The polish isn't just a shiny surface, it's a silent, reflective testament to a body of knowledge that has been utterly lost to time. If the visual mystery of the polish isn't enough, wait until you hear the caves. Step inside the main chamber of the Lomas Rishi or Sudama cave, close the entrance behind you, and make a sound. Any sound. A soft hum, a sharp clap, a single spoken word. What happens next is extraordinary. The sound doesn't just echo, it reverberates, amplifies, and sustains itself for an unnervingly long time. A single word can hang in the air for several seconds, its sound waves bouncing off the polished, curved surfaces, creating a complex and resonant harmony. It's an acoustic experience that is both beautiful and deeply strange, transforming the chamber into a powerful sound instrument. This remarkable effect is no accident. The geometry of the caves, the barrel-vaulted ceilings, the circular chambers, and the polished granite walls seems deliberately designed to create this specific acoustic phenomenon. The hard, non-porous surfaces prevent any sound from being absorbed, allowing it to bounce around the chamber with almost no loss of energy. The curved shapes focus the sound waves, preventing them from scattering and dissipating. The result is a powerful resonance chamber. Speaking in a normal voice can sound like you're shouting, and chanting or singing would create an overwhelming, all-encompassing wave of sound that would vibrate through your entire body. What was the purpose of these acoustic properties? If these were simply monsoon shelters for Ajivika monks, why go to the incredible effort of engineering them with such sophisticated sonic capabilities? One compelling theory is that the caves were used for ritualistic chanting. The Ajivikas, like many ascetic traditions, likely use sound and vibration as a key part of their meditative practices. Chanting specific mantras or sacred sounds like Om in a space like this would have been a profound psychoactive experience. The sustained echo would amplify the chant, creating a continuous drone that could help the practitioner achieve a deep trance state or a sense of unity with the universe. The acoustic properties are so precise that they have even led to speculation about their use in healing or consciousness alteration. Modern research into sound therapy demonstrates how specific frequencies can affect brainwaves in physiological states. Is it possible that the ancient builders of Barabar understood these principles? Could they have designed these chambers to generate specific resonant frequencies that would facilitate spiritual experiences or altered states of consciousness? The caves are not just silent stone, they are instruments waiting to be played. Their acoustics are a vital clue, suggesting their purpose was far more complex and profound than merely providing shelter from the rain. The precision of the Barabar Caves extends beyond their polish and acoustics. It's embedded in their very design. The layout of the chambers, the perfect curves of the arches, and the clean, right-angled doorways all point to a sophisticated understanding of geometry. These are not rough-hewn natural caves, they are architectural spaces, designed and executed with a blueprint. When you stand at the entrance and look in, the symmetry is, honestly, just breathtaking. Every line is deliberate, every curve is perfect. This level of precision, carved from a single monolithic piece of granite, is a feat of engineering that would be challenging even today. Some researchers believe the builders were using a form of sacred geometry. This is the idea that certain geometric shapes and proportions have a symbolic spiritual significance. The circle representing eternity and the divine, and the rectangle representing the earthly plane, are combined in the design of caves like Sudama, which features a rectangular hall connected to a small circular chamber. The transition from one shape to another could have symbolized a journey from the physical world to a spiritual realm. The very act of entering the cave could have been a ritual of transformation, guided by the sacred proportions of the architecture itself. This leads to another intriguing idea: the possibility of a lost unit of measurement. To achieve such consistency across multiple caves, the builders must have been working from a standardized plan. One independent researcher, after meticulously measuring the dimensions of the caves, proposed the existence of what he called the Barabar yard, a unit of measurement roughly equivalent to 2.07 meters. He found that the key dimensions of the caves, their length, width, and height, all seemed to be multiples or fractions of this forgotten standard. This suggests a highly organized and systematic approach to construction, one based on a system of knowledge that has since disappeared. The gateways themselves are powerfully symbolic. The entrance to the Lomas Rishi cave, with its famous arched facade mimicking wooden architecture, is considered by many to be a stargate or a portal. It's a threshold between the chaotic, sun-drenched world outside and the serene, ordered, and otherworldly darkness within. Crossing that threshold is a powerful experience. It feels like you are leaving one reality and entering another. Was this the intended effect? Were these caves seen as literal gateways to another dimension or a higher state of being, with the geometry of the structure acting as the key? The blueprints for Barabar seem to be written in a language we no longer speak, one of mathematics, symbolism, and spirit. Let's bring this puzzle into the 21st century. Could we rebuild the Barabar Caves today? The simple answer is yes, of course we could. With our advanced technology, we could certainly quarry a granite block and use computer-controlled machinery to carve out chambers. We have diamond wire saws that can slice through granite like butter, and robotic arms that can polish surfaces to a flawless finish. But the real question is not if we could do it, but how we would do it, and whether we could replicate it using the methods believed to be available to the Mauryans. And that's where things get complicated. Talk to modern stonemasons and engineers, and they will express a deep admiration, bordering on disbelief, for what was accomplished at Barabar. They would likely start by using ground-penetrating radar to ensure the granite monolith was free of internal fractures. Then, large-scale drilling and blasting would be required to create the initial cavity, a far cry from the supposed method of chipping away with iron chisels. To achieve the interior finish, they would employ a series of grinders with progressively finer diamond pads, followed by a chemical polishing slurry to achieve that final, mirror-like gloss. The entire process would be incredibly loud, dusty, and energy-intensive. The key difference is the evidence, or lack thereof. Our modern methods would leave traces, drill marks, saw lines, and the microscopic patterns of machine grinding. The Barabar Caves have none of these. They also lack the telltale signs of the hypothesized ancient methods. If they were chipped out by hand, where are the millions of chisel marks that would have been left before the final polish? If they used fire setting, heating the rock and dousing it with water to make it crack, where are the scorch marks and thermal fractures? The construction process seems to have been traceless, which is what makes it so baffling. This is why some theories venture into the realm of the extraordinary. Could they have possessed a technology that softened the stone? Some have proposed the use of sonic drills or acoustic levitation, technologies that sound like science fiction but are being explored by scientists today. While there is zero evidence for this, the sheer perfection of the caves forces us to consider possibilities outside our conventional historical framework. The granite conundrum remains. The Mauryans, according to our records, should not have been able to build these caves. Yet, there they stand, a silent rebuke to our own technological arrogance, and a testament to an engineering genius that we cannot fully comprehend. The official story ties the caves to Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BCE. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the caves are much older and Ashoka simply found them and repurposed them? This is a controversial theory, but it's one that elegantly solves some of the biggest puzzles. If the caves were built by an even earlier and perhaps more technologically advanced civilization, it would explain why the construction techniques seem so out of place for the Mauryan era. Ashoka's contribution then might have been limited to adding the inscriptions that dedicate the caves to the Ajivikas, essentially putting his stamp on a pre-existing marvel. This idea isn't as far-fetched as it might sound. It's a pattern we see at other ancient sites around the world, where later cultures discover and build upon the foundations of a much older, often more sophisticated predecessor. Consider the Sphinx in Egypt, which many geologists believe is far older than the pyramids it guards, based on water erosion patterns. Could the Barabar Caves be a similar story? The inscriptions are located near the entrances, almost like an afterthought. They are not integral to the structure itself. It's plausible that Ashoka's men simply carved these dedications onto finished surfaces that had been waiting there for centuries or even millennia. If the caves are older, who could have built them? This question opens up a Pandora's box of speculation, pushing us into the realm of lost civilizations. Ancient Indian texts, like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, speak of the Vimanas of the gods and powerful weapons that could level entire cities. While these are often dismissed as mythology, some researchers wonder if they contain a kernel of truth, a distorted memory of a time when technology was far more advanced. Could the builders of Barabar have been the remnants of such a lost age, possessing knowledge of physics, materials science, and acoustics, that we are only just beginning to rediscover? This theory, while lacking direct proof, provides a compelling framework for the physical evidence. It accounts for the missing tool marks, the impossible polish, and the advanced acoustic engineering. It suggests that human history might not be a simple linear progression from primitive to advanced, but a series of peaks and troughs, with brilliant civilizations rising and falling, leaving behind enigmatic clues like the Barabar Caves. Perhaps they are not a product of the Iron Age, but a relic from a forgotten chapter of human history, a whisper from a civilization that mastered stone in a way we no longer understand. So, what was the ultimate purpose of these incredible structures? The official explanation, monsoon shelters for monks, feels woefully inadequate when you're standing inside one. The sheer effort and technical genius involved seem wildly excessive for such a mundane purpose. Why polish the walls to a mirror finish for men who had renounced all worldly possessions? Why engineer perfect acoustics just to keep them out of the rain? The purpose must have been intrinsically linked to the unique properties of the caves themselves: the polish, the geometry, and especially the sound. The caves weren't just places to be, they were machines designed to do something. The theory of them being resonance chambers for spiritual practices is the most compelling. Imagine an Ajivika monk sitting in total darkness within the circular chamber of the Sudama cave. As he begins to chant, the sound is captured and amplified by the architecture. The sustained, vibrating drone would fill the space, resonating not just in the air, but in the very rock around him and in the bones of his own body. This sensory overload, combined with the isolation and darkness, could have been a powerful tool for achieving altered states of consciousness, inducing visions, or facilitating a profound meditative journey. The caves were, in this sense, consciousness-altering technology. Another possibility relates to the idea of initiation. The cave's design, particularly the layout of a rectangular hall leading to a smaller domed chamber, strongly suggests a process of passage. An initiate might have undergone rituals in the outer hall before passing through the final doorway into the sacred inner sanctum. This womb-like circular chamber could have symbolized death and rebirth. The disorienting acoustic effects and the sensory deprivation of the darkness would have been a powerful and terrifying trial, designed to break down the ego and allow for a profound spiritual rebirth. The caves, therefore, may have been centers for secret initiation rites. Ultimately, the true purpose may have been a combination of all these things. A sacred space, a sound instrument, a portal for consciousness, and a site of transformation. They may have been seen as a place where the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds was thin, a man-made nexus of power. The strange, otherworldly feel of the caves is undeniable. They don't feel like they were built for ordinary human life. They feel like they were designed for something more, for interacting with the fundamental forces of the universe through sound, geometry, and focus. The function of the Barabar Caves is perhaps the greatest mystery of all, because it is a question about the very nature of ancient spirituality itself. The Barabar Caves of Bihar remain one of the most profound and humbling mysteries on the planet. They are a stark reminder of how much we don't know about our own past. Every theory we propose, from painstaking manual labor to lost ancient technology, collides with a wall of inconvenient facts. The historical record tells us one thing, but our own eyes and the cold, hard granite tell us another. These chambers defy simple explanations. They are too perfect, too precise, and too advanced for their alleged time and place. They are a technological anomaly, a glitch in the accepted timeline of human history. They challenge our modern sense of superiority. We like to think of ourselves as the pinnacle of technological achievement, but the Barabar Caves suggest that we may be rediscovering knowledge that was mastered thousands of years ago. The builders, whoever they were, possessed a command of stoneworking, acoustics, and geometry that is in some ways still beyond us, not because we lack the ability, but because we lack the how and the why. We could replicate the shape, but could we replicate the soul of the place, the purpose for which it was so painstakingly created? The caves force us to ask, what other knowledge has been lost? What other marvels lie buried, waiting to rewrite our history books? This is where the real expedition begins. It's a journey not just to a physical place, but into the realm of possibility. We must be willing to question the established narrative and embrace the unknown. The answers to the Barabar mystery are not likely to be found in a single inscription or a lucky archaeological dig. The answer is locked in the stone itself, in the silent echo of its chambers, and the flawless reflection on its walls. They are a permanent, unyielding question mark, carved directly into the face of the earth for all future generations to ponder. They are proof that our ancestors were not as primitive as we might imagine. So, what do you think? Were these caves the work of Mauryan craftsmen with forgotten techniques? Are they the much older relics of a lost high-tech civilization? Were they observatories, tombs, or chambers for spiritual transformation? The beauty of the Barabar Caves is that they accommodate all these theories and more. They invite us to speculate, to wonder, and to keep searching. They are an open invitation to explore the limits of our knowledge and to imagine a past far richer and more mysterious than we ever thought possible. The truth is still out there, waiting in the silence of those perfectly polished granite walls.